on the staff report, young man said that there were 2 letters of opposition in the file. I think you can check your packet.
Oh.
Many more than 2 letters.
Yeah, we'll address that.
Yeah, we will address that. In fact, I'll do that right now because that was a comment.
Another one that I wrote. He also said there were many supporters in the neighborhood. That is probably untrue.
We'll give you the opportunity
Sir,
to say that.
you'll have the opportunity to speak. Now, to that specifically, there was many comments. Okay, emails, letters, what have you. And if I misspeak, you guys please tell me. But we did our best to read every one that we were presented with. And I believe we probably did read every one. To promise that there were so many, I was reading so many things, so many signatures, you know, I couldn't promise that, but we did our best to read everything that we were presented with. Okay, so with that, Chris,
Yeah, just quickly, I know there's people here that support this, there are people that don't support it. I just ask that all the presentations, all the input come from the podium.
yeah.
If you think somebody's doing great, we're not doing this by applause, we're doing it by information. So whether it's cat calls or if you have a negative reaction, take it to the podium. If you have a positive reaction, take it to the podium. Just respect for everybody that's here today. Thank you.
That's the thing. Please, respect. Okay?
Nope, that covers it.
Okay, all right. Vince?
Curtis, AUD.
One thing I just want to let you know, I do have hearing impairment, so if you ask a question, you may have to repeat that.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Kurt Singles, I live on County Road 5, 25995, County Road 5 in Elbert, Colorado. I'm addressing 2 specific issues. First one is the sound and the noise associated with it, and the second are property values. So my own personal experience, a year and a half ago, I was looking for a property, 35 or greater acres. My real estate agent gave me a list of properties. They ended up being out off of County Road 150. My wife and I were looking at one of the properties, walking around it, and we had just looked around the property a little bit and heard the most ferocious roar I'd ever heard. When we heard that, there was a tree line not far from there. It sounded like it might have been a mountain lion or something. So we immediately, the hair stands up on our neck, and we run to the car. We go to the next property. We hear another horrendous lion roar, and I'm thinking whatever it is following us. We moved almost a mile away. We subsequently go to a third property, which allows us to get near what we end up finding out is the sanctuary. So we had been moving we were almost 3 miles away at the first point, and we looked at 2 subsequent properties on our way, and we ended up at the sanctuary. So we understood what was the sound of that, and immediately, because of the fear that it had evoked in us, just the roars. And again, this is 3 miles away from the existing property. We immediately, just as buyers will do, we crumpled up and threw that list away and said, we are not going to buy in this area. We could not keep our windows open at night on a summer night and actually, tolerate that. And that's coming from someone with a hearing impairment, so 3 miles away and I was having trouble hearing. But wanted to mention that we did buy in far western Elbert County, as far as we could get, and now this is only less than 2 miles from where we're going to be at. So it will impact property values. Buyers will have that. But believe it or not, I believe the assessor, if you spoke to him, who was here, would impact that as well. And the sound, it travels an immensely large area. Anybody that says they don't make noise has not, heard that sound. There were actually 2 of them going back and forth while I was there. So I just wanted you to know that the sound, A, does carry a considerable distance, and B, I know it's going to impact property values because unlike a llama or a cow, which doesn't travel very far, a lion's roar does. So, thank you very much.
Next up is D. Kathy Krupa is the next up.
sir. My name is Dee Lindsay. I live about a mile away on Road 13 from where this would be, as a crow flies, by about a mile. One point, I've been a professional firefighter for 31 years, and I own a small business here in Elizabeth. I make that point for one thing. It's kind of in my DNA that I typically look at things pretty critically and pretty objectively. Earlier tonight it was said, or earlier today it was said that to make decisions based on facts, not fear. That's kind of the way I work. I won't want to discount when people are afraid. That's real. That's real to them. That goes to the whole pursuit of happiness. That's an emotional thing. Another part of the way I'm wired is when I do look at something, I say, okay, even though it's not likely, if it does go south, how bad is that? If this goes poorly, what's that going to look like? How is it going to be? I think that's pertinent in this case. So our community, right next door to me, as a matter of fact, just had a giant pot bust. It took 3 of them. We just had the third biggest raid. You guys are familiar with it, I'm sure. It's probably one of the biggest busts in the state. When they came in, they put up big hoop houses. They're going to grow organic tomatoes, eat for them. We're thinking that's cool. It's agriculture. Well, it turned out not to be that. So you'd say, well, it's pot, it's agriculture, they're plants. It's the same thing, right? We raise hay. I heard one of the comments that came out of the planning commission was that, well, this is an animal area. These are animals. It's the same. It's not. These are predators. They're predators that are habituated to people. They're used to associating food with people, or people with food. I would much rather have cougars, wild animals, whatever around because they're afraid of me. If one of them does get out, which happens, I mean, there's human error involved, they're going to typically be afraid of people. These animals aren't. They're going to come looking for food. And people live close. We're pretty close, and there's people that are much, much closer than that. That's such a big point that any of us that are hunters or in that realm know that the DOW, when they've got a problem animal that's shown its loss of fear to people, they destroy it. So, another issue is the petitioners have had a number of, you go back to Google or whatever, there's been a number of instances where they've had interactions with authorities. There's a number of conditions that were put on place for this approval. I don't have any confidence, and I think anybody would have a question on whether or not those are going to, all those obligations are still going to be adhered to in 2 years or 3 years. When water gets expensive to be hauled in, it's going to be tempting to use that domestic well, and we don't have any governance over that. So when this came before this board several years ago, it was deemed too dangerous. It was too dangerous then, nothing has changed, it's still too dangerous. Thank you very much.
Joel's out here. With Christina. Next up here is Linda Spiaka.
Okay. Okay. Christina Brinkworth, County Road 3633, County Road 106. Our property and applicant's property adjoining. I want to speak to the zoning regulation of safety and our right to safety. I have 6 children, ages 2, 5, 10, 12, 15, and 17. They ride horses, 4-wheelers, motorcycles, work and walk on the roads and in our fields. One of my children's favorite pastimes is to ride horses and hang out with their friends at the pond that is across the road from the applicant's property. I fear for the safety of my children riding horses on our property because the fact is horses are prey animals and they are sensitive to predators. My children could be seriously hurt or worse, killed while riding horses just by the horses sensing the presence of these dangerous predators. The demonstration in the presentation we just saw did absolutely nothing to diminish the true danger this is. There are too many unknown variables. Also, there is no amount of insurance money that could ever compensate for the worst possibility, death of someone or their child. These animals are a serious danger to all of us just by being an established residential horse community. They are asking to have 11 large, dangerous predators across the road from where my children, their friends, cousins, Boy and Girl Scout troops, and church youth groups currently spend a lot of time. The Elizabeth and Elbert school districts both have bus stops on Judge Adams Road, which is about a quarter of a mile from the proposed site, and stops along County Road 114 on the other side. If these dangerous predators were here before me, I would never choose, and I emphasize the word choose, to live by them. The applicants are trying to take away my right to choose the safety for my family. Please don't allow these dangerous predators in our neighborhood so I don't have to live in fear of my children walking home from school or just simply playing outside. If they want to build a sanctuary and people choose to live by it, that's one thing. But to come into a family and horse community and expect this to be okay is unacceptable. Anyone with pets, children, or grandchildren should be scared to death to have to live with the fear and reality of these dangerous predators in their backyard on a daily basis. Thank you.
Chris? Next two up are Dan Bruno and Pamela Steinman.
Good afternoon, my name is Chris Burnett. I live at 2972 Rock Circle, within 2 miles of the proposed location. First of all, I handed out the handout there. You can see that speaks to population density. I know the commissioners have visited the site. Therefore, if you visit the site, you know it's totally different topography as far as where they are now to where they're going to relocate. Commissioner Richardson, you mentioned facts by Spear. I want to mention some facts, and I hope all three of you received my email. Okay, so I'm not going to review a lot of those facts. I want to press on. First of all, I'd like to say this then. You have two neighbors speaking on behalf of the applicant. One of those neighbors' property is for sale. That really negates their opinion, in my opinion. That's a fact. The other fact is that staff does not live in the area. The other fact is, at the meeting in Elbert County, I asked directly what mitigation has taken place to stop the flooding, or actually it's really a drainage issue. At that time, Dr. Lobb said that she had really kind of avoided the question, and Mr. King responded that it would just cost too much. We have no cost-benefit analysis associated with doing that mitigation versus moving. And until that's done, which I know in the special use application can be required by the planning board, but it did not happen. I'm sure the commissioners could still do that. The second thing I want to address is the video. The horse video. I applaud the lady that's the horse professional, but understanding horses, if many of you do, also understands the fact that horses default to their leaders. Each one of those horses were handled by their own, basically, herd leader. Therefore, if they perceive the threat, just like she mentioned in the one video where the horse was between, that's kind of valid, but the handler is still right next to him. The horse is going to default to the leader. Expect the leader to keep them safe. Just like a leader in the military does risk assessment associated with what their plan of operation is. This is not a good plan of operation. You're relocating large predators into a highly density or medium density area, and that is not where it is right now. It's in a sparse, austere location. I just want to thank you for your time. I'm going to yield my 42 seconds to the next person.
Kathy?
We appreciate that.
Next up is Tina Maber.
Thank you. Captain Krupa, I currently live on 26787 County Road 13. Currently, we do own this property to the west, which the applicant has referred to, which we do oppose to it. That property is 27084 County Road 13. This is used as a rental, and a family of 7 lives there, with 5 children under the age of 15, all homeschooled. They frequently play outdoors. In the application, it states that due to topography of the land, the structures cannot be seen. We can clearly see the structures from this property, and also see it from our property across the road. We mentioned to this family that this issue was coming up for a vote in the county, and they adamantly stated that they would move if the special review comes into fruition. This rental is a 5-bedroom home that would definitely have children living there. So for future tenants, we would have to disclose what is in back of their yard and what to be expected if something should occur. This would greatly impact the rental market for this home. Also, the property value of this home would be in question. It sits on 39 acres with access to the creek behind it for livestock or water usage. I believe future renters would not want to live in such close proximity to this compound. People move to the area for harmony with nature and the solitude and peace and quiet of the environment. I don't believe that this structure would be in harmony with the surrounding area. And as far as reaching out to the neighbors, our first clue of this was our certified letter of the public hearing in Elbert County. Thank you.
Linda? Next up is Jerry Baber, and then Laura Vilcia.
Hello, my name is Linda Siaka. My husband and I live at 6534 South Victoria Street in Littleton. My husband and I both are volunteers at Lions Gate Sanctuary and have been since Dr. Lobb and Peter Wayne purchased the property, the facility. We have seen incredible work that these wonderful people have done with the animals and the great improvements of the facility itself that they have made over the years. This has been an unreal amount of work, sweat, tears, love, and satisfaction in caring for these animals. There are a few people in the community who have given attributes, characteristics, and personality traits to these animals that just do not exist. They have installed a full-blown fear response from the community. These are animals that have been abused and mistreated and taken out of their natural habitat by humans. They have been in captivity their whole lives. They are all senior animals and now are happy and content to be fed, loved, and cared for by the Lions Gate personnel. It is totally impossible for these beautiful animals to be released back into the wild. Unfortunately, it's not even a choice. They wouldn't survive. The only choice here is to have Lions Gate, have them living at Lions Gate and let them live out what is the rest of their lives, their natural lives, with the love and caring given by Dr. Lobb and Peter Winning. This is where they're being fed and cared for, and they have no reason to try and escape or leave that facility, nor have they tried in all the years that they've been running this facility. Not one of them there have been no incidents, there have been no injuries. Safety is number one here for the animals, the neighborhood, and of course the caretakers. If you check, these displaced animals have never attacked or injured anyone in all the years that Peter Winnie and Dr. Lobb have run the facility. They have proven over these years that they are responsible and extremely competent and able to take care of the animals without disrupting the community. There is no threat to the community by these heavily caged, secured, and controlled animals. There have been no escapes, nor any incidents at the current facility, and there will be none at the new proposed facility where the animals will be safe, as well as the community. Now, before somebody says it, I know there's no guarantees in life. If you're looking for a guarantee, we're living on the wrong planet. There are things that happen in the world, and that's why they're doing the emergency plan and setting up all of the stuff they have. That's all.
Dan? Sally Whitback?
Good afternoon, thank you for your time. My name is Dan Bruno with Keller Williams Realty in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. I was invited to speak here today by my past client, Terry Mitchell, who lives at 3623 106 County Road. I helped assisted him in purchasing the property about 4 years ago. Is this not? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, nice. My expertise, I've been a realtor, licensed realtor in Colorado for 4.5 years now. Prior to that, my background is 25 years in the title insurance industry. I have the designation of realtor with the National Association of Realtors, BPO, Irish Price Opinion, Broker's Price Opinion designation, and certified negotiation expert. I'm here to speak about the valuation of property and how we determine that. In doing a market analysis on the property, there'd be two phases. We look at as as explained by the gentleman who was here earlier from the county tax assessors, you look at all the facts, square footage, bedroom, bathroom, the property, what's on the property, outbuildings and all that. You factor all that in and you do a mathematical equation to determine that value. The other part of the point is you look at things that we do adjustments to the property, things that would affect the sale of the property either in a positive way or a negative way. Granite countertops, a large outbuilding, there's positive adjustments for that. Now, things like power lines, backs to a highway, and in this case, a large facility that houses exotic animals that's visible from your property, that would be a negative adjustment and adversely affect the value of the property. The gentleman earlier that was speaking from the retired fireman talked about facts. Facts are important. A buyer, when they look at property, there's two parts that they consider: the facts and then the emotion. It's a very emotional purchase. The other gentleman was talking about when he was walking the property and he heard the lions roar. That was a negative emotion for them, and that deterred them from wanting to buy the property, or certainly would lessen their buyer pool. So in my professional opinion, I would view definitely from my client's property where you would visibly see this facility and knowing what that facility houses, most buyers, it would be a deterrent. It would certainly lower their buyer pool, lowering the value of the property. Thank you for your time.
Pamela? Next person up is Gary Mitchell.
Pamela Steinman, 3643 County Road 106. Our property adjoins the applicant's on the east and is just over 1,000 feet from the site of the proposed facility. And I've already expressed my greatest concern in 2 letters provided to you, so there's no need to repeat myself on that point. But besides the safety factor concern of these dangerous animals being literally next door, of great concern is the disruptive noise that would result. We've heard that lions' roars are extremely loud and can carry for miles, and here's a fact. Pat Craig, director of Kingsburg Sanctuary, confirmed this in a Denver Post article from last July 11th, in which she stated, quote, "Lions roar day and night, those nearby will hear it, they carry for miles," unquote. Dog events were formally conducted at the proposed site, and their barking carried loudly to our house, contrary to the applicant's claim that topography will block the sound of their animals. Lions' roars are much louder and won't be blocked either. We sleep with our windows open in the summer, so those roars resounding through the night will certainly disrupt our sleep, with resulting detrimental effects to our health. Many of the neighbors will be similarly affected. That violates item 7G of section 17 regulations for SUR, that it, quote, "will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County," unquote. We bought our property 19 years ago because of its quiet and tranquil nature. We have the right to expect that this tranquility and our quality of life be protected. Please vote to reject this special use request. Thank you.
Tina? Next person up is Catherine Anderson.
Hi, I'm Tina Mather, and I live at 27174 County Road 13. We have resided there for 28 years. We are adjacent to the proposed SUR Lionsgate relocation property. Based on the zoning regulations of section 17, SUR B7B, B7D, and B7G, the SUR must be in harmony and compatibility with the surrounding areas. My handout, which I've already given to you, it represents a satellite view of the proposed Judge Edmonds Road location. The yellow circle indicates a 2-mile radius around the proposed site. The large yellow X at the center represents the proposed future location of the compound. The yellow stars that you see represent the locations of 87 neighbors slash voters who signed the petition opposing the relocation. Yes, opposed. The commissioners' approval. This petition has been filed with the county. The bold blue dots on the diagram represent 3 supporters within the 2-mile radius. One of the 3 has since moved, and her property is for sale on County Road 13. One member of the planning commission asked Ms. Love how is she going to change her neighbor's opposition, and he was never given an answer to the question. Furthermore, the approval of the SUR by the planning commission was based on 10 conditions. Who will enforce these conditions? If the Lions Gate continues to operate under these conditions not being met, who will be liable if something happens to a person that's injured? Does the county/commissioners become liable because they approved the SUR? The graphic illustration shows the overwhelming widespread opposition over the application for the SUR. Clearly, the commissioners should be more concerned with those in the neighborhood who will be affected than those supporters of Lionsgate who live in Littleton, Parker, Larkspur, Pelham, Sun Countries, Sinlow, and other further locations outside the proposed area. I thank you very much for your time, and I ask for your support against this SUR. Thank you.
Jerry? Next up here is Cindy Soloway.
My name is Jerry Maber, and I've submitted to all of you several letters addressing the various incompatibilities this area has with the master plan and zoning regulations, and hope you have read and considered the issues I raised. This past Thursday, you made a site visit to the sanctuary on County Road 150. I'm sure this was upon the request of Ms. Loud for all of you to see for yourselves the whys and what fors behind this sort of request. The visit was more than what was afforded their neighbors. Let me point out that there has never been an outreach to the immediate neighbors to educate them on the exotic animals in the last 11 years since the last SUR denial in 2006. They've known since then that the local neighborhood was against it and did nothing in a positive way to ensure the neighbors were on board with the SUR application. Outreach sort of happened, not of their own choosing, but because of a requirement in the SUR application. A community meeting about the relocation of the sanctuary was held last summer. The relationship with the neighbors is cold and confrontational at times. To further damage the relationship with the neighbors, Peter Whitty publicly went on a 3 to 4 minute rant criticizing a few of them at the March 14th Planning Commission meeting, and that's on record. As you are aware, this medium density zone residential neighborhood is and has been in a growth mode and offers peace, quiet, and serene scenic surroundings. And a proposed 2.24 acre stockade looking facility is incompatible with this site. It was upsetting and a shock to this neighborhood when the recent SWAT actions at the illegal marijuana operation on County Road 13, and now they have a prison-looking stockade with dangerous animals in our backyard, is not in harmony with this neighborhood and will detract from its serenity and beauty. It is commendable for the mission Ms. Loud has taken to protect these exotic animals at their current location, but like the commissioners before you, they considered the owner's property rights, the neighbor's property rights, and how an exotic animal sanctuary would fit in this proposed location, and abiding by the zoning regulations, unanimously came to the same conclusion that it just does not fit. Please, once again, deny this SUR application. Thank you.
Laura? And next up is Rick Brown.
No, that was from this morning.
Hi there. I'm Laura Dulce. I lived in Elbert County for 33 years. Sorry, my voice is getting a little cranky. I've been 20 years at 3627 Lonesome Rock Road. I'm across the street, about 3/10 of a mile from the proposed facility. I just want to talk to a couple of the many inconsistencies that the applicants had in their answers and presentations, both to the planning commissioner meetings and also at previous, previous SUI. Claims of an untarnished safety record. Mr. Winnie, at the last meeting, he claimed he'd been associated with, responsible for the safety of Prairie Wind since 1993. They didn't say that today. Also with Serenity Springs and, of course, Landscape. However, Prairie Winds, it's probably where they had a lot of issues. They have had escapes. They had a volunteer with their arm torn off. They never recovered it. And numerous citations for the court care animals. Prairie Winds also have revocation of the USDA Welfare Animal Act license and failed their probation at $15,000 fine. Serenity Springs, multiple citations, animal escapes, and multiple cases of court care. Landscape has no reported incidents after they bought out Prairie Winds, grandfathered in on the Colorado Department license. However, most of these incidents are never reported according to the Humane Society. And that's, of course, because people don't want to lose their licenses that they do have. The applicants had claimed that they did not want a federal USDA license because they had absolutely no intention of exhibiting their animals or having the public visit their facility. However, according to USDA docket number 090069, this was before the Secretary of Agriculture decision. I gave petitioner September 8, 2011. The administrator determined that Lionsgate is unfit to be licensed under the Animal Welfare Act. Unfit in this document was mentioned 6 times. Within this document, it says that Lionsgate wanted to exhibit both on and off the property with these exotic animals, which I find interesting. And this also goes off what they had told us at an initial neighborhood meeting over 10 years ago. So I find that a little hinky. I'm not going to talk about the other stuff. That's boring. So anyway, you can take a look. I have supporting documents, website, they're all on there. And I urge you to vote no, please. Thank you.
Next person up is Al Whitman.
I'm Sally Litwatt. I live on Judge Adams Road next to the applicant's property. We bought our land in 1972, built in 73, and moved in 74. I oppose this application. Today, I'm going to focus on safety concerns. The applicant tells us that their animal compound has an untarnished safety record, but all such compounds do until they have a tragic accident. And there have been many such tragic accidents. And I didn't realize that Laura was going to mention Prairie Wind, but as you know, I'm sure that volunteer's arm was torn off. In April 2016, a male Malayan tiger killed an experienced animal handler at the Palm Beach, Florida Zoo, the first death by an animal in zoo history. Excuse me. In November 2013, an employee at a private wildcat sanctuary in Oregon died after being attacked by one of the animals. In March 2013, a lion at a private compound in California was mauled to death by an intern. In February 2007, a jaguar mauled to death an experienced animal handler at the Denver Zoo, the first such death in the zoo's 110-year history. The applicant also tells us that 10-foot fences will protect us, but the facts challenge her claim. In July 2004, a 600-pound tiger jumped a 12-foot fence and escaped from a private compound in Loxahatchee, Florida. In December 2001, A tiger jumped a 12.5-foot wall at the San Francisco Zoo, killed a 17-year-old boy, and mauled 2 of the boy's brothers. The Big Cat Rescue Organization said this: incidents in the U.S. involving captive exotic cats since 1990 have resulted in the deaths of 24 humans, the additional mauling of 261 adults and children, and 275 escapes. As you can see, my concerns are based on facts, not emotion, as the Planning Commission claimed. Obviously, private compounds cannot be made safe. There is no justification for subjecting our neighborhood to needless dangers, threatening our way of life, undermining our property values. People bought here expecting that their neighborhood would remain one of compatible, harmonious properties, and that Elbert County would defend its planning vision and enforce the zoning regulations. Those rights should not be violated. Thank you very much for your time. And I do have supporting documents, if you would like to have them, about all these accidents, let me know.
Gary? Next up is Frank.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Mitchell. I live 1,000 feet south of the Lionsgate relocation spot on Judge Adams Road. Who will be liable when something happens? Lionsgate present location has a very good record. Their new location in the heavily populated neighborhood, Peter will have more distractions. Distractions can cause mistakes. 90% of the people that live 2 miles from their relocation want to see them fail, do not want it in that area. Once again, I ask, who will be liable when something happens? Pray to God you vote no.
Catherine? Next up, Linda Williams, and then Mark Klein.
I'm Catherine Anderson, and I've lived at 3627 Lonesome Rock Road for 20 years. This is within 3/10 of a mile of the proposed large animal facility. I have also lived in Elbert County for 29 years. I am opposed to the approval of the special use review that would allow large predators in my neighborhood. I have these concerns. I attended the June 27th, 2016 meeting at the Gates Building in Elbert, where the applicants said they would be replacing their predators with new ones as their present predator population died, and claimed they could have as many as 25 predators in the facility on Judge Adams Road. Then they pointed out that they own the property directly north of where they live now is the next step to build a new facility, and once this is approved, it would be that much easier for us to have a zoo in our front pasture. I don't see how the SUR could possibly be in harmony with the residential horse community. If their intent is to give these carnivorous animals a home without replacing them, why are they spending over $100,000 to move an existing facility to the Judge Adams facility? Which of you would like to live next door to this kind of property? Who is going to oversee that the conditions made by the Planning Commission will be followed? In other words, who would be providing oversight? which of you is willing to guarantee that my property value will not be reduced or that I will be able to sell it if I need to? At the March 14th meeting, Mr. McCloskey, who wrote a letter for John and Peter, he pointed out that he could not make a prediction about what would happen to property values given these new circumstances. The gentleman who made the presentation this morning about discussing properties said that it would be logical that our property values would go down. I also would like to know which of you is ready to sacrifice the property rights and financial and safety concerns of over 80 people who have proposed the relocation of this facility into this residential horse community. In terms of reaching out, the only time I have seen the applicants is at meetings. I live 3/10 of a mile away.
Cindy? Next up, Katie Elliott.
Hi, I'm Cindy Soloway. I live at 3645 County Road 106, which is adjacent to the rental property of the applicants. I live at the end of the proverbial end of the road where everybody ends up turning around on my property when they're going to look for the Lions Gate since it's been put on Facebook, Belmont County, whatever. I did want to address some of the CPW regulations because I'm really concerned about this grandfathering clause that they're going under. Currently in the CPW regulations, the most recent, it states that only wildlife facilities accredited or certified by the AZA, Association of Zoos and Aquariums, or accredited by GFAS, Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, shall be licensed to possess any animals as of January 2006. They're, of course, exempt from this. So these are two oversight organizations that would insist that there would be emergency procedures, there would be security. ATA, for instance, closely examines, among other things, is the facility conducting drills? Is there adequate safety procedures in place? Is there alarm systems, not just video systems, and emergency procedures, adequate security day and night? They also stated, there was a statement in the application, which I just don't agree with, is that the CPW license assures safety at the facility. It doesn't do such thing. It mostly monitors how many animals they have, who died this year, and the like. It's more interested in the health of the animals, which is appropriate for CPW. I also wanted to, at the planning hearing, it was asked why the applicants didn't want to go into their AZA or GFAS certifications. The planner asked, do they have facility specs? And the answer was no, they don't. Well, that's not true. The AZA and the GFAS absolutely have extensive documentation on facilities. GFAS states the minimum height for a lion or tiger to be 16 feet high with a hot wire. If there is not a top cover on that thing. They are reading the specs for CPW, but CPW knows they cannot police this anymore. That's not their business. Habitat for a bird is their business. So they have put this in place because of problems that have happened. So I want to ask that this application be not accepted because of some of the concerns that I have over the safety and operation of this facility. Thank you very much for your time.
Al? Next up, Bill Harris, Matt Lane.
Albert Rochford, 3637 County Road 106. I oppose this application. It's not just about animals. It's about eyesores, like massive chain link cages and 10-foot fences. It's flawed, misleading, and non-compliant with statute. The applicant says ongoing flooding is the reason for the request. The staff report says recent flooding. The fact is, the flooding is neither ongoing nor recent.
It came in an exceptionally wet spring 2015 when there was widespread damage in eastern Colorado. County Road 106 was washed out, but flooding was not an issue at the site before that or after 2015. So the very basis for the application is flawed. She says that the site can't be, she says that Chris Kloster of Colorado Wildlife has authorized a move for its sanctuary. Chris Kloster cannot authorize a move. She says the site can't be seen from a private road. It can. She says there won't be noise. As you've heard, the director of Kingsburg Sanctuary says there will be noise. She says exotic animals are a recognized special use. True. So are firing ranges and gravel pits. But you don't put such things in neighborhoods like ours. So zoning sets up other hurdles for special uses. Section 17B says explicitly that harmony and compatibility with surrounding area and neighborhood must be considered. Harmony and compatibility put there to protect neighborhoods. To evade them, the applicant and staff brazenly claim that a use can be deemed to be compatible. That's nonsense. 17A intent makes clear that compatibility and harmony can't be deemed away. They are central to the review process. It says uses may be permitted, subject to conditions and safeguards as may be imposed in order for uses to be in harmony with the character of the surrounding neighborhood. What could be plainer? Harmony is to be safeguarded and neighborhoods preserved. CRS 3028-104 agrees. Chain link cages and fences are not in harmony with this neighborhood. County commissioners in 2006 knew that and they unanimously rejected this scheme. Still, this board is being asked to approve a rejected idea that brings no economic benefit to Elbert County, exposes the county to legal liabilities, threatens the health, safety, and well-being of people, undermines neighboring property values, and makes a mockery of zoning regulations. And why? Solely for the convenience of owners who love their animals but are tired of driving to Agate to care for them.
Frank? Linda?
I'm Linda Williams, and I live at 26904 Road 13, and I have lived there since 1978, and I moved out to Albert County because we had a pet mountain lion, and Albert County was good with us having it. We had permits from the Parks Department, and they came out and inspected our cage. Everything was fine, and we lived out there for 14 years with this cat with no problem whatsoever. And I think that's the biggest thing. I'm for Joan and Peter having their cats. I think that everything should be fine. They are very responsible with their animals and have provided more security than the Denver Zoo. That's all I've got to say.
Art? Katie? Next up, Julie Atkinson, Beverly Rampey.
Hi there, hopefully you can hear me. My name is Katie Elliott. I live also on the property with my grandmother, Linda Williams, and her son, Ronnie, also lives there. We all support this. We have the privilege of knowing Joan and Peter on a little bit more of a personal level than a lot of people, and I really wish that more people could know them the way we do. We share a fence with them. We've actually grazed our animals on the west corner of their property for several years. We will continue to do that. Our animals in my family, I have a 2-year-old and I have another one on the way. They will be out there, my animals will be out there. I have no concerns with this. I've seen the safety procedures that they have in place, and I know that they will continue to keep them up if they are able to move, and I have no concerns with this. My family and my animals will be closer than anyone else's. They have a 10-year record. They have not had an incident. They dedicate and sacrifice so much to provide for these animals, and if one of them gets out, they die. And that is not the reason they are doing this. They are doing everything they can to prevent that. Because what is the point of doing everything they have done just to have one of these animals get out and have to be put down? That is absolutely the last thing they want to happen. It was mentioned that horses, if they go out on your horse and your horse gets spooked by the smells, or I don't know what they think because they can't get that close, is going to spook their horse. But when you get on a horse, when I was young, my first horse was practically bomb-proof. But if a jackrabbit jumped out of the ditch, I hit the ground. You take that risk no matter where you ride if you get on a horse, no matter how good your horse is. My horse was in the video, the one on the left that got run up on by a tiger. I was actually surprised he didn't jump. I rode that horse probably maybe 4 times. I did not have him very long. He came over my neighbor's fence and my neighbor said, "You like him, keep him." And I didn't get to have him very long, and I certainly didn't get to work with him very much or build that much of a bond with him before I took him out there. He just was the kind of horse he was, and he didn't react to them. I wasn't sure whether he would or not. My pen stopped working, so I can't read that. But the wildlife, there's no evidence that the wildlife would be affected, and as far as noise, there are plenty of people from the current surrounding area that can attest that the noise is not as bad as a lot of places like the other sanctuaries that have a lot more of these animals that chatter and talk. Thank you for your time.
Matt? Next up here is Ed Steinman.
Matt Lane, I live at 4560 County Road 114. I'm the owner of Lone Star Ranch. I purchased Lone Star Ranch over 5 years ago. I'm also the CEO of an international franchising company. And the reason I bring that up is because, similar to other people who have talked, I have a tendency to look at this stuff from the position of objectivity and facts. So let me just run through some facts that, from my perspective. The first one is outreach. I've never met the applicants at all. My ranch is roughly within 1,000 feet of where this proposed site's going to be. But I found it interesting at the Planning Commission I was actually disparaged by the applicants and quoted by the applicants, yet I've never talked to them. I don't even understand how they know my name. That was kind of interesting. Second fact is honesty of vision. I think the vision for this sanctuary, I think you've heard throughout this commentary, has changed multiple times as the applicants have continued to go through the process. That worries me, and that actually says to me what's going to happen as they continue to move forward down the process. Does that continue to change, and does it change drastically once this permit would be approved? Next point is resources. I find it really interesting that the applicants are out fundraising through a website, trying to raise money to fund the sanctuary. If you don't have the resources to manage out here on today, why would this be an appropriate thing, especially considering the next point, which is risk? We're talking about some seriously catastrophic risk here. If something does go wrong, it's a big deal. And that's enhanced in my mind because the caretakers are not on site. If the caretakers were living on site full time, where they had round-the-clock caretakers similar to zoos, as been quoted here today, might be a little bit different, but it's not the case. So if something happens, there's a time delay which makes the catastrophe worse. Second to last point is permanency. We all know that once these things are approved, they're awful hard to ever change. And in fact, it starts to become a permanent fixture of the landscape. There's been conditions and that sort of stuff talked about among the Planning Commission, but I really don't see that as ever carrying any weight whatsoever. It's awful hard to get rid of this stuff once it's approved. And lastly, there was a comment that was made just a second ago about wildlife impact. I can speak to wildlife impact with absolute specificity. The commissioners approved a dog rescue immediately adjacent to my property to the north. And now I'm being flanked on the southwest here with an exotic sanctuary. One of the comments I made during that process was the wildlife impact would be significant. It was poo-pooed, it was downplayed. The reality is that the animal population has gone away from my property simply because of dogs. And I can't imagine it's going to happen with exotic cats.
Chanel Schrade.
Good afternoon, my name is Julie Atkinson, and I live at 4702 County Road 106. My property is approximately 1 mile from the proposed site. One of my main concerns is that the location of the proposed site is too densely populated for a facility like this. There are currently over 90 homes within a 2-mile radius of the proposed site, and there's an approved platted subdivision with 18 lots that are not yet developed. Once these lots are developed, the amount of homes would change to over 100 homes in a 2-mile radius. The current site is a much better location because of the amount of homes it directly affects. There are only 16 homes within a 2-mile radius of the current location. The current facility has existed for many years and is grandfathered in, and the impact of the surrounding properties has already been realized. I have been a licensed real estate broker in the area for 17 years. I work primarily in Elbert and Douglas County with large and small acreages, such as the area that we're talking about. And although there is not a precedent, I believe that it's only common sense that the property values would be negatively affected. This is a beautiful, pristine valley with many high-end properties, and in my opinion, 9 out of 10 of the buyers that I work with would think twice before spending $600,000 plus